Another, the bagari wangan the Jungo Marngoonjba, Ngutanda, Mangan running the year, Carbon the year, Wangamania. G'day, g'day. How you going? What do you know today? What do I know? Well, I know that since native title, my life changed. Before that, I was in the world. I had a job as a tradesman. I was running businesses. But since native title, I've been studying history. And along with fellow Australians and archaeologists and anthropologists, we've been rediscovering our history. It's been exciting times. So I want to share with you, my fellow Australians, because this history that I'm going to share with you, my ancestors were the main actors. But since you're now in Australia, and we are Australians, it's our history together. So this history I want to share you, it's ancient history. I've had DNA tests done through the University of Copenhagen. They wanted to see how far the black man went back. So another Marngoonjba, the Yulu, by another one got a Nyingo. Inawanga, Banjimaguruma. What have been Yambaling other? What have been Mother? Another Yulu Mother, another one got a Nyingo. Dugulba, what have been Dugulba? Mother, another one got a Nyingo. So according to my old people, this land was passed on to me and my father. We are the bosses. The big chief, as they used to call me, my old people, of the Inawanga Banjaman Guruma. But here now is my fatherland country. My Mani, my grandfather, my father's father. So I want to tell you, because this is where my bloodline is strong and it goes back 60 to 70,000 years, unbroken. Marlborough, black man. So, I'm just going to share this very brief with you. Don't want to hold you too long because I'm going to do a series. But this bit of history I would share with the team that I was at West End with. Because of one or two people, I believe it's one guy, that made a complaint against me for not letting this other black fella that never been through law I wouldn't let him come and have a look at a sacred site to us, a men's site. You know, one thing I've noticed and studied since the beginning, I know that the old people found it hard in the beginning because a lot of women were coming on as archaeologists. It was a bit worrying for the old people, and the way they looked at it was, okay, we got two laws in this land. We got a Marngoonjba law and we got the Wommaloo law. So they under their law, we under our law. So what I noticed and studied, we all study in different things, no matter what it is. What are you doing in your life? What your work is, that's a form of study. So it's been over 20 odd years now that I've been studying my history as a Jungoonah person. Predominantly, but I'm also Bunjima on my Māori's mother's side. My grandfather's name was Kugi. They called him Kugi. Gurubu is Marngoonjba name, Blackfella name. There's a record, probably from police protections, an old record. It had my grandfather Kugi, marked as a full blood. My nana, half caste, well, she had a full blood Guruma mother. But my nana was, they called her Midigundi, and they marked her as half caste. My father and his sister, his big sister, was marked as 3/4 caste. But I don't know what that makes me. But I know my nana had French blood, Delaport. Teleport is a name, and I found out that when I was in Israel, sitting next to a Frenchman, this big golem menorah, the Western Wall area, and I mentioned to him Delaport, and he said, "Oh, Delaport." So that rings true with me, because the first time I flew to Israel, I flew through Paris. Anyway, these are part of my studies that I'm telling you. So what you see behind me is going to show you. It's what I touched on the other day when I came and did something from the top of Mount Angeles. So this area, my old people know as Jungoonah, we share with our Bunjima family, the Jungoonah Klaipan area. So this area where West Angeles is Jungoonah. And there is an Inabitty creek that comes into it on the southern side of this ranges. Sort of starting where there's a sinkhole. So 2017, day of Pentecost, not Pentecost, that day was Passover and Easter. They fell on both the same day. And it was actually a Jubilee year. So, and there was a red moon or pink moon. When I saw something, I was in my room and I had to get out and have a look. I saw the emu, or Jungoonah, we call it, in the Milky Way was pretty well meeting this Jungoonah land. So right behind me is just Jungoonah land, ranges of hills. From the right side, this is his tail. On my left side, this is his head, his neck, and his head's about there. On that particular Jubilee year, when the lunar calendar and the solar calendar came together on Passover or Easter with a red moon, a blood moon, I saw the heavens connect with the earth. So our Father, the Marngoonjba, the Creator, our Creator, He wrote it in the heavens and He wrote it in the land. When I saw it that day, that evening, it was awesome. And these words went through my mind, rang through my head. Remember the story of Marngoonjba telling you, an emu travelling south, taking a law. They don't know where he went. They know where he last stepped and they know where he ended up in the Milky Way. Now this law is a law, my law, the Wommaloo. Ngada bagarim, ngada wangan nyengu, Wommaloo, ngada anda tukuluba. Wadipa, maada ngada wangan nyengu. So this law is part of my law. It's part of a free law they call the Wommaloo law. This Wommaloo law is to do with the Southern Cross and the emu in the Milky Way. So when I was studying this for a while, this emu in the land, this Jungoonah in the land. But in that day, Passover and Easter 2017, a Jubilee year, and the solar and the lunar calendars coinciding together, I had to open this up. And I opened it up through Robin Stevens, an anthropologist. I mainly knew him as an anthropologist, but he also has archaeology. And I sent an email to him making that statement. You can check it on my page, and on Facebook. So without further ado, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of this emu. Hopefully I can point it out to you. Just step away a bit and just run around it. So this emu, his beak is here. This is his head. This is his neck, top of his neck running. This is where his neck meeting his body now. This is his body. This is his tail. Tail comes back around. This is his leg now. Coming around to his feet. His feet landing down here. Come back around and up. His leg and now his body again. Coming into his neck. Back around to finish off. The sinkhole that I talked about, the inner bitty, will bring out. I'm not going to focus properly into it by the looks of it, but that sinkhole would be about here. That sinkhole is where a snake got up. A Wommaloo. You see Wommaloo Way? Well, that's where this Wommaloo got up, this snake got up. This yellow, this red here is a mine area, West Ange. This is what we, in the field, we call this the fish hook. In this fish hook area, we found three main sites that link in with stories, true stories of our history in the land. I don't know how that, yeah, that looks okay. So in this fish hook, one particular day we're walking along doing this survey, and some of my mob, they're just walking along yarning together. Anyway, I let them go, never say anything, we're just all doing our lines. And we got up to a point round about here, or maybe there. Bit of a saddleback. Up on the top, when we got there, we had a rest, because we got to come back and do another line. Sarah, I think she's from Jungoonah, Queensland, and David Walsh, they were both working for Gavin Jackson, archaeologists. Anyway, Sarah sits down on this rock. And she's looking about, and she ended up finding this little carving. It was an emu foot, just one. The significant thing about that emu foot, he was pointing straight to the emu foot that we know, where that emu that Jungoonah took his last step, or one of his steps. So, we lined up for this next one, and I said to the blokes, when you do this line, you stay on your line, don't come across and talk to one another, we're here on a job. Because there is something waiting for you, every one of us, in your line. And as we started to walk down the line, pretty well through here, when we got about here, young fellow Leslie, hey, something here. He was walking alongside of me on my left. And what he found was another carving, a rock carving in the flat. It was of these little hairy fellows that we call Wommaloo, 6 fingers, 6 toes fellows. The way I explain it to people now, these are part of the fallen angels, they're little devils. They come in all different forms and shapes right through the world, but here this fellow is a little hairy fellow, 6 fingers, 6 toes, and we call him Marngoonjba. But in the creation story, he's part of the fallen angels, he's a little devil. And funny thing, Dave Walsh, archaeologist at the time, he's an Irishman. So I explained it to him, you know the little leprechauns? Yeah, that's their little devils, they're fallen angels. Okay. I think it was on the same survey. We was in the hills around here now. I think it's up in this one. That particular one, it's a bit of a gorge. I was walking on one side, I was walking on the eastern side. Dave was on the western side of this gully, going up the creek. Anyway, he did find something down at the beginning of it, the creek, the gully, on his side. So after we finished the walk, they had to go and record it. Anyway, some of the blokes at that time, football was on. And we were sitting around together on this drill pad. And they really wanted to go and watch this footy, and I said to them, well, you just go, I'll stop here. So a lovely lady dear friend passed away now. Debbie Stobie, her name was. she took him back, and I was waiting the drill pad, and she coming back now, and something was stirring me as I was sitting there. And as Debbie comes back, I had to go. So I walked straight up, and Dave and Sarah, they were recording this rock shelter and found some artifacts in it. Just walked straight past them. And I went up to this rock that was part of an old rock fall. I don't know when that fell. And I just brushed this dust off the surface. And there were two kangaroos. One of the kangaroos, or both of them, were done on red ochre. And this is very significant because one of them is a small one, the other is a large one. So in our skin colouring system, Galata is pretty well blood grouping, ensuring us that we're crossing our blood all the time, because the blood gets too pure, there's a lot of deformities and sickness. So the big plain kangaroo, he's a brown colour. Another one, he's a milliner. He's a little hill kangaroo. Now the significance about these guys in the story and the history, these guys actually took the New law. The New law that we practice is a biblical one, I find. And you find that in Genesis 17:10, when the Creator said to a fellow named Abraham, so I talk to it as the Abrahamic covenant. He said, Abraham, you keep this covenant with me, I'll make you a seed like the stars of heaven and the grains of sand on the seashore. I won't tell you what it is, you read it for yourself. Genesis 17:10. This is where we connect as Marngoonjba and Wommaloo, the two laws, the laws of the Marngoonjba and the laws of the whitefella meet. Because we, as Australians, and Australia was built on Judeo-Christianity. Judeo-Christianity. This is what Australia is built on. Not football and pies and barbecues, but Judeo-Christianity. My law, as a Wommaloo, so that's a new law that I'm talking about here now, this Abrahamic covenant is a new law, we call it new law. I'm Bagaroo. I am Bagaroo. I'm a Wommaloo. Marngoonjba. Jungoonah. So I'll take you back to focus on my law for a bit, which is written in the heavens and in the land. So I bring you back to the Indian, the Jungoonah. Sacred. The Marngoonjba give us this Dugulba, and he shaped it in the land. That's him. I'll finish off this little segment because I notice it's just over half an hour. Now this history that I'm sharing with you, my ancestors were the main actors. In this case, I'm talking the one in the fish hook. With the kangaroos. The Millanga and the Broom and the Millanga. The Abrahamic covenant. New law. It's the Old Testament. This is what the Marngoonjba showed me. This is the Old Testament, and this is where we're connecting in Judeo-Christianity, in the Bible. And that message that our Creator sent out through the Wommaloo. If you understand that the rabbis, the people of the book, they say it's the greatest love letter to mankind, to humans, to his creation. This law of the Jungoonah, my law, the Wommaloo, is to do with the new covenant. The new covenant is about the Wommaloo. It's about Jesus, as the English brought it to us as. But in my study of history, is Yeshua. Because at the time of his birth, he was called Yeshua. He was Hebrew. This particular word that he sent us is Yeshua. Love one another. Love and respect one another. So we have a Old and New Testament. This is where the Malwa meets the Wommaloo. This is where black and white meet together. As Australians, as Australians. This is when we meet together. Love is the message. I have more to say, but we're going on 36, nearly 37 minutes. So I'll cut it off at 37 minutes. A recap in 20 seconds. This range, it's a Jungoonah. The Emu, this is his beak, his head, his neck, this is his body, his tail, his legs, his feet.